concept of sleep. Have you ever sat up late at night with all the lights off, maybe watching a movie or doing some late night gaming? When you hit pause, there's that silence. No, not silence. Quiet. Like the night is holding its breath and the dark is suddenly so heavy, pressing down into that small circle of light cast from the screen. You huddle up tight on the sofa, telling yourself that it's for warmth and it's comfortable like this. And you try and make yourself forget that feeling. You concentrate as hard as you can on that screen, but there's something back here that keeps screaming. That tiny piece of defunct psyche that used to keep our caveman ancestors conscious and alert to make sure they were never ambushed by a saber-toothed tiger. You snuggle down, and soon you start to feel this wonderful wave of drowsiness just washes over you. Oh, it could be 0 degrees outside, or even 3 foot away from you, and you could be sat on the most uncomfortable chair in your house or the sharpest rock in the forest, and it wouldn't make a difference. It's just so comfortable, you could just fade away. But there's this uneasy feeling tapping away at the back of your head. It keeps yelling and yelling and yelling until you decide that you must just be tired, so you head to bed, turning the light on as you go. Why do you do that? You know this room, you've walked through it 1,000 times before in the dark. You know every table leg, every footstool and every armchair in here. And yet you blind yourself by turning on the light and walk with your eyes practically shut out. Have you ever noticed the weight of darkness, especially just as you're on the edge of sleep? That pressure, like being at the bottom of a pool and all the water's pushing in, trying to get onto your eyelids just before they close. And in those instances, do you have weird, vivid dreams, full of darkness and light? So much light, it burns. Do you ever feel like those dreams aren't your own? And do you ever feel in those dreams something is replaced? And you wake up the next morning and you look in the mirror and it's not your reflection. It's you, but it's not your reflection. I saw something come through my news feed a couple of weeks ago about a scientist who did an experiment on this in the 80s. Apparently, he claimed that since the start of the use of electricity, people had started sleeping. That before, nobody ever slept, and this whole concept of sleep was something that we, or something, has fooled us into believing was something we've always done. He said something about electricity affecting particles and sentient dark matter invading our lives. I can't remember, I didn't really read it. But he claimed the reason that people had started going missing was not runaways, was the fact that because people weren't going to sleep as soon as the night fell, they were noticing something in the dark, and it was taking them. Of course, he was laughed out of his scientific field, and complete laughingstock. He said to them that one night his partner had disappeared, and in the morning, in their place was someone exactly the same, but it wasn't them. There was something dark behind their eyes. They all said it was his failing marriage, and he was starting to be on the verge of a breakdown. And when he told them that one night they had been sat in the living room and had completely vanished, leaving only their nightgown laid out across the seat. The police looked into it, of course, but they couldn't find any sign of foul play, so they decided that she must have just left him, and in his fragile state he just couldn't bring himself to believe she'd really gone. The last ever interview he ever had, he said that he was going to do one last experiment to prove conclusively that he was telling the truth, and he was right. Of the experiment he would only say, "Great ideas aren't the end of the road. They are the road, but you have to travel down it before you find them." Whatever that means. They figured that he must have skipped town when the experiment failed to show any results. Whatever he did, he blew the lights and all the power for 6 blocks. Although they never did find the cause. Just a camera he'd set up. The weird recording on it, it was just him, sat with only a desk light on. And then, towards the end, what must have been when all the lights went out, when the power got cut, it goes black. And then suddenly there's a light in the corner, and it's him huddled, holding the light out like it's a burning brand, flailing around in front of him as if it's going to protect him. And then it starts to sputter. And then the tape cuts out. The battery must have died on the camera or something. Strange thing was, though, when they finally broke down the door to his lab, all they found beside the camera was his lab coat crumpled up in a corner with a torch with their batteries next to it. But you know the weirdest thing? In the pocket was the only set of keys to the door. Did you hear that?